Okay, we're recording. Hi there, I'm Katrina.
Hi, I'm Jen. How are you today?
Nice to be up and doing the Vishuddhi chakra workshop that we have planned today for this Friday. So let's talk about the Vishuddhi, the throat chakra. And you can
Yes.
see, I'll upload the PowerPoint later and we'll talk about, you'll get to see where all the chakras are located and how it affects you. So the Vishuddhi is in the throat. And obviously, it's not obviously, it's sometimes known as Vishuddha and Vishuddhi. I'm a bit confused by those terms. Jen, do you know which one you would call it by?
It depends on the text. Like some of them have the I at the end, some of them have the A at the end.
I know that the text,
I think it's
the
way it was translated is,
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I remember reading the Kundalini Tantra book that we have. It talked about the Shuddhi being, now what was it? What were they saying about that being about some kind of strength or something, and the form of communication. So I'm guessing Vishuddhi for that. We learnt about it as Vishuddhi, didn't we, when we were at the ashram? So, but a lot of texts do say Vishuddha, and when you look at a lot of these chakra signs, it'll say Vishuddha. So go with what feels good to you. Sometimes Vishuddhi, sometimes Vishuddha. It's like tomato, right? Yeah. So it is known as a purification center. It is where we're able to speak our truth. It's in the throat. It is also the poison center. So it's also where you're going to speak stuff that can be hurtful, painful, poisonous to other people and to yourself, because whatever you say out to others vibrates back to you. So yeah, it is responsible for receiving thought vibrations from other people's minds as well, and it's also about how we communicate. So you think about it, you feel it in the heart, and then you explore, or you say it, you communicate through the Vishuddhi. And it's sound, and it's our ability to speak our truth. So that's what it's all about.
I think it's interesting because you mentioned in our text, it talks a lot about the nectar. And so I find this kind of difficult to understand in like an everyday usable getting to know the chakras aspect. But when you think of it as far as speaking truth, speaking honesty, speaking kindly, or speaking negatively, gossiping, putting poison out there, like when you when you focus on like the positive aspect or the negative aspect, it does affect you, because remember our last chakra was the heart chakra, and we considered that our wishing tree. So that was like our manifestation area, right? So whatever we say, even thinking, either whether, we're catching information from other people or we're putting it out there, it is affecting what we manifest for ourselves. And so this shows you how all the chakras are connected, obviously, because the throat chakra is above the heart chakra. So just keeping that in mind as far as it being, purification, or it can be of poison.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you can also think of it as when you're around other people in a group and say they're all promoting or provoking gossip or bad talk or just talking negatively, you're swallowing that poison as well. So you have to remember that too, is what the company you're keeping or what you're associating with, what you're watching on television, the type of activities you're engaging in. Are they feeding the purification center, or are they just poisoning you? Yeah. So it goes a lot deeper than just, just communicating. It's what we're taking in too. So
exactly. All, yeah, everything, and even all the way down back to the Muladhara again. That stuff that we feel about fear, it comes up, we feel it in our heart, and then we express it through our voice, through our throat chakra.
Exactly. And it could be used, like, say, if you're experiencing that fear, your voice can be used as a defense mechanism.
That's right.
So you might come across very harsh or brash in order to defend yourself because of a fear that you may have. You may feel intimidated. You may feel like, you're being overpowered, but it's how you choose to use your throat chakra to overcome that. So yeah, it's a good one.
Exactly, it is a very good one. And when you come to actually doing work on it, it's going to be very different compared to doing work on the other chakras that we've worked on before, because the other ones are below, much more physical. As you go further up, it becomes more emotional, mental, and it involves other kind of exercises rather than more of a physical thing. It's much more meditative. Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
So what does it correspond to? The descriptive word is I communicate, I speak. It's all about speaking. The force is vibrations. The sense is sound. The food is fruit. The element is ether. The color is blue. The celestial body is Mercury. The creature that you can think of is cat and lion, cat or lion. Physically, it's going to be your ear, nose, and throat, because we have all these cavities up here, the sinuses, and then the throat, which is where you're going to be able to speak your truth. If you are blocked here, it's going to affect your sinuses and the ears, therefore, and also thyroid problems. So when I was younger, due to my people-pleasing side of my life, I had a lot of sore throats, and I felt like a choking feeling here where it's frustration because you're not able to speak your truth. And so there was a lot of choking. And then I actually had a lot of sore throats. I've had several operations on my nose because for sinuses, sinus drainage operations and stuff. And I've had my adenoids and my tonsils removed, and very bad throat infections when I was younger due to, actually looking back on it, due to those emotional problems. So, we really do need to take care about how we take in information and how we communicate it out, because if there's a lot of stuff that we're holding back, it will manifest in physical issues, particularly concerning the chakra that we're talking about, like today. And emotion. Right. Yeah, Karen, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's interesting you said that, because I had a lot of the same issues as a child. I had like tonsils removed. I struggled with sinus infections for as long as I can remember. So, and even as a child, and I'll say this, and people don't believe it now because they're like, wow, you never shut up. But as a child, I didn't speak.
Wow.
I didn't speak until I was probably in 6th grade.
Wow.
I was painfully shy to the point of severe anxiety. I would have panic attacks at school. So I would speak at home to my parents, right? But going to school, speaking to other adults, speaking to kids my own age, someone talking to me, I just freeze. So teachers in class knew not to call on me because I couldn't. It was like selective mutism that I had. So like reading, when you'd have to go around the room and read from the book.
Yeah.
Now, if I could write something, like the teacher would accommodate, and we'd have games where she would ask a question and a few of us would line up and write the answers on the board, and who could put it on the board fastest would win. I could always win that. I could write out my answers, but I could never
speak.
Yeah. And it took me a really long time to overcome that. And it wasn't until because I didn't have any friends, because I couldn't talk to anyone. So I would just sit alone. And then it wasn't until about 6th or 7th grade, this one girl, she noticed that I was alone all the time. And so she would just come and sit with me. And I'm just sitting there like, why is this girl sitting next to me? But at lunch, she would sit next to me. During recess, she would sit next to me until finally, and she would talk and I would just listen, and I wouldn't say anything until finally, I started talking.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so.
Wow.
Dana Johnson, my friend Bird from 6th grade, her nickname was Bird. Yeah, she was the one that sat there and finally got me to talk outside of my house.
Amazing.
So it was crazy. And then I haven't stopped talking since.
It's like something had been unleashed.
Exactly.
It's like things come out. It can happen like that. In autism, there is a lot of situations of kids that have selected mutism, so they decide that they don't want to talk, and my gosh, willpower is a very strong thing with them.
It is, and it's driven by fear and intimidation, because you feel like you're not going to be able to fit in, you're going to say the wrong thing, you're going to get in trouble. Because like you, I remember you talking about your early years in, elementary school and how they would have physical punishments, right? Like paddling. We had that as well.
Yeah.
And so I would see other kids, kids being kids and playing and all these things, and then they would get paddled for being disruptive. So that was another thing that I was like, if I get paddled at school and my parents find out I got paddled at school, I'm gonna get paddled at home. It's just gonna be a cycle. I'm just not gonna say anything, and it just became this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. The amount of times I just wish I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're talking about the force being vibration.
Yes.
And the physical aspect being ear, nose, throat, and thyroid.
Yes.
And so if anyone out there is watching and gets to this point, Katrina's been doing these chakra clearing yoga classes on Sundays that you can sign up for. And so I signed up for them, paid in full, because I'm like, I really need to do this. I need to catch up on this. And you say you're going to do things on your own, even though Katrina and I went to the same training, I could do it at home myself. It's way more fun to do it with her and have someone else lead the class or guide the class, and you just participate. Yeah. It's a lot of like relieving that expectation on yourself to do it yourself. You just sign in and show up and do it with her. But there is a meditation practice, and I don't know if you remember, Katrina, it was the humming bee.
Oh yes, I remember now that.
Yeah, and when you're doing this, you're humming, and you're blocking your ears, and you're pinching your mouth closed. Mm-hmm. And that humming actually stimulates the throat chakra and causes vibrations all through the sinuses and the ear canals. It's like a face, inside ear, throat massage. Yeah. And it's really good. And it feels really intoxicating. And then when you're done, you're like, oh, I feel so light. I feel so good. And so hopefully when we get to the throat chakra in our
we'll be doing
classes, we can do that one. That's the perfect Vishuddhi meditation.
It clears up a lot of sinus blockages as well. It's really amazing. So if you suffer from sinusitis, you'll find that it will, like, the vibrations kind of tick, 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 tick into those. And I remember after that, before that we did the nasal cleanse. And before we did the nasal cleanse, and after the nasal cleanse, and we did that meditation, oh my gosh, like, it was so clear. It was like a vibrating empty vessel, Yeah,
it felt so good. And this shows you like how powerful vibration is in the body, and the sounds that you can create yourself to provoke this movement, to whether, you'll be blowing your nose, you might start coughing up mucus, your ears may pop and start to clear up. It feels really good. So if you haven't signed up yet for her classes, please sign up, because we're just going to start working on the Manipura.
Yeah.
We haven't made it to the throat chakra yet. So sign up before the throat chakra.
I know that I've got another 2 clients who are joining us this Sunday, so that should be fun. And
oh, good.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. So just sign up and start, because you can start and we'll continue doing this journey. So once we get to the end, we'll start again at root and we'll work our way through. And every experience when you clear your chakra is a different experience. You don't expect to live the same experience that you've had before. It's going to be very different. And the more you do, the more clarity you'll get. And it's only going to get better. So, or it might bring up more stuff. Who knows?
Yeah. You'll be like, this didn't happen the first time.
Yeah.
You're working to it. So.
Because like sometimes you're digging deep into ancestral stuff, because stuff that you inherit from your parents or grandparents, or even prior to that, and some people believe that it's from different lifetimes as well. So whether that's your belief system or not, you might be digging into something ancestry or something, if you do believe in what's the word, recycling life.
Like the samskaras, where you just carry your scars from your past life, into your new one.
Yeah. So if you have that belief in mind, then your healing can go back to previous lifetimes as well, because it's all about repeating our life and and learning from our past and moving on and evolving, isn't it? So we're still evolving today. Every day is a new evolution. We build on from our past and we try and, you know, be better at what we do. So yeah. So okay, so we've got to the emotional side is courage and frustration. So to be able to speak your truth involves a lot of courage. And like Jen, she can talk for America, I think.
I can speak in front of the biggest crowds. It doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something I still think about that I struggled with, that it makes me hurt for my child self, you know?
Well, you need to
That
give
I wish I was.
a hug.
Yeah, exactly. Then I'm like, it's just so sad. But
I know.
you grow.
You do. Sometimes I have this, I feel sorry for my child's self, and I go into this visualization stage where I'm meditating, and I think about what I looked like when I was a child, and I imagine hugging her and saying it's okay, you know, and kind of relieving myself from that pain, because you've got your own back, you know. At the end of the day, you're the only one that can really, really, really give yourself the love that you truly deserve. There is no one else on this planet who knows you the way you do. So it's so important. And that's why these chakra clearings, the healing journeys that you go on, you get to know yourself in such a profound way. And you really do love yourself, because you love yourself through all those stages in life. And it actually makes me feel quite touched, you know, because like I get to experience what that little girl was going through. Sometimes the meditations are so clear, and I can not just imagine but experience the past emotions of what I did feel, and being able to comfort her while she's experiencing that is quite a powerful thing, you know. It's almost like as if you're time traveling. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. So,
And only you can understand where you were coming from at that point in time.
exactly.
You know, because I even talked to my mom about it. I'm like, you remember how I have these, like, back then, like, my mom didn't know I was having panic attacks. You know, she just thought, she doesn't want to go to school. She doesn't, you know, and she'd be like, why don't you like it? I'm like, I don't like any of those kids. I don't like any of those people, because like no one understood me, and people would try to force me to do things I didn't want to do. You know, like I just liked peace, but it was because everything around me was so chaotic, and it was overstimulating for me. I did not enjoy all that chaos or like exertion during aggressive playtime at recess. That was not my thing. I would just read.
Get out of the book in front.
I like glance up like they're crazy, you know? And so I think it's just looking back and being like, I know where I was coming from, and no one else can understand that. Not even my mom, who's like, what's wrong? And you're just a kid and you're like, I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
No.
So reaching back as your adult self, it is comforting to be like, you know, only you know why, and you get it.
Yeah, exactly. And you are in that place that you can authentically comfort yourself in a way that nobody else can. You can't get that love from a partner. You can't get that love from your mom, your dad, anyone who knows you. They can only love what they see about you. They can't love that mental state that you were in. They don't know the trauma that you truly felt. And you don't understand that trauma that you felt because you were a child. But when you are older and you reflect back to it, it's only then that you're able to do some healing. And if you don't heal from that, tell you what, that's going to carry on in life with you. And the sad thing is that if you have kids, it's probably going to be passed down to them. So it's really important that you do some healing. And even if they are born and they are experiencing it too, at least you can help them, because with your healing, you can only be a stronger person, and you will know what you're going through to be able to see what they're going through. So, you know, it's very, very important.
Of course. And that's where it comes in, like patterns within families can stop with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they can start with you, you know? So I don't blame my mom, you know, but she did everything she could to try to make me feel better, like talk to my teachers about what she felt I was dealing with or why I was acting the way I was acting. And to not like, trigger me more by calling on me in class or making me speak or do things that were not in my comfort zone. So she did everything she could, but at the same time, it was there was no going to therapists at the time or talk therapy or things like that. Like it was just growing pain stuff you dealt with, you know, whereas now if you have a child or, you know, you're a guardian of someone who's going through the same things or similar things, then you as an adult now can understand, I experienced something similar, and provide interventions, you know?
Yeah.
It can be different. It can be different.
Yeah. So what happens if the Vishuddhi or Vishuddha is blocked or unbalanced?
Mm-hmm.
It can make us cunning, so manipulative, creates untruthness, so deceit without lying, frustration so it will cause you to be frustrated at inadequate communication. So
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like, for me, I remember growing up in Malaysia, there was so much inadequate communication when we wanted to find out something important was starting at a certain time. There was just lack of communication. People there's a lot of different cultures, so there's a lot of barriers between the cultures in terms of how they communicate stuff. And so some people think, oh, it's important to talk about this, and some people think, forget about that, that's not important. So being stuck in the middle of it all, makes you feel like, well, what am I supposed to do, where you know, so leaves you in a very inadequate feeling and very frustrating. So yeah. Withdrawal from the emotions into the mind. So, you know, you withdraw from how you feel and go into your mind, and then your mind will bring up stuff which is probably untrue because you haven't spoken to anyone about it and you don't know their perspective, you know. So the mind itself can be quite poisonous too. And shyness, which is what Jen had been experiencing as a young child, you know, just being afraid to speak, to talk to other people, and just thinking that the best way to be is probably not to say anything at all, right? So yeah.
It's
And on the other
safe.
side of that, you've got speaking too bluntly. So that also is when the Vishuddhi is blocked, because if you speak too bluntly, you'll be hurting other people's feelings. So it's about knowing a balanced place to be. What do you say? How do you say it? If you want to convey your truth, there must be a way to communicate what you need to say, but with love, coming from a place of love rather than coming from a place of fear. So when we shout and lose our temper at someone, it's usually because we're scared and we're coming from a place of fear. But if we approach someone with love and understanding and seeing their position and respectful of their position, then it's a much better conversation. Yeah.
Of course. And even in our text, and I know that everyone has heard the saying, you know, like, listen more than you speak, you know, and there's like this, you know, little saying that goes with it. And I'm going to butcher it. So, but basically in our text, and what it says is that what coincides with the throat chakra and not just communicating is also listening and gaining knowledge.
Yes.
And so this can help combat things like shyness or speaking too bluntly or speaking, you know, too quickly or speaking outside of something being the truth. Is making sure that we're getting all the information and knowledge and processing it before we speak about it. And so this allows a person who is shy to speak more confidently and be sure of what they're saying, right? But it also can allow someone who tends to be a little more harsh or speaks too bluntly to maybe think more objectively and say, okay, I can be aware of how, you know, saying it in this way can affect someone else negatively, and just being more mindful of what you're communicating. And so it's not just I communicate, you know, like what's going out, but also what's going in. What are we taking in? So if it's blocked or unbalanced, especially from being in a relationship with someone who is a narcissist, a lot of people can relate to these characteristics of someone being too harsh with their words or maybe giving you the silent treatment, right?
Yeah.
And that's how they can manipulate and have control over you. They can also make you afraid of the things that you say, you know, and make you unsure of yourself, which hinders your ability to communicate. So this can be on both sides. You know, this can be from someone who is using this as a tool to manipulate, or, you know, On the other side, it's causing suppression.
Mm.
We're suppressing our thoughts and our feelings, and we don't feel comfortable communicating. So those are the two blocked, unbalanced aspects of the throat chakra.
Yeah, exactly. Very true. So what happens when it's healthy and clear? So you're always going to be able to speak your truth, no matter how painful it is for you. You feel it, but something in you, like recently, this happened to me quite a lot. I can't actually say what I don't feel is right. And it's got to a point where I used to be able to lie for people. I used to be able to cover up for people and things like that. But now I can't do it. I can't speak what's not right because my uh, the demon or the angel that's communicating with you. I think that I would feel really, really guilty and really, really bad, and it would just get me too much. So I can't actually do that. So I have to say what I truly feel, even if it means that it's going to hurt someone's feelings. I find a nice way to say it. And I think that's because I've been doing so much chakra clearing since India, so much chakra clearing and helping other people, because every time I help other people clear their chakras, it's doing it to me as well. So it's a very detoxing experience.
And you mentioned speaking your truth, but also not covering or lying, for someone else, to kind of help them on their path, their poisonous path.
That's right.
That sounds kind of harsh, but when we're talking about, it being clear or having it, speaking poison or speaking lies.
Exactly.
That whenever your throat chakra is unblocking or getting more balanced, becoming more balanced, this will happen is that you no longer feel comfortable following along or just going with what other people want you to go with, right? Is that you're going to stand fast in what you believe, what you feel is right. Not only with your truth, but kind of provoking them to come into their truth as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you speak your truth, and because you come from a place of love, and because you are honest and discerning, all of these things come up and people notice that. And as consequence to that, you then develop an authoritative voice. So people will then listen to you. You have a certain amount of authority, and people will trust what you're saying and turn to you, So it makes you more attractive as someone who is a leader, So it's very, very powerful when that does develop. So yeah, it's quite amazing. And it's also
a good characteristic. Oh, sorry.
Very
A good characteristic of this is the faculty of higher discrimination, which is what you're talking about.
Yes,
and when I say the word discrimination, I'm not talking about the negative aspects of it. I'm talking about the fact that you can separate, a truth from a lie, what is good information that you're receiving and what information is just not necessarily useful. If someone is trying to feed you information to sway you a certain way, how are you looking at it? Are you looking at it objectively? And can you make a reasonable, truthful, objective decision based on that information? And that's part of the Vishuddhi as well, is being able to discriminate or determine, what is false and what is true? What is going to lead me on a path to clarity, or what is going to just kind of lead me deeper into fog, where I can't really see what's in front of me. I'm just kind of reaching and feeling and following,
Yeah.
Exactly. So that higher discrimination is really important here. And so that's what you said you're coming into, is that you're more sure of yourself and your communication.
Yeah, definitely. And as a result of that, you can also read between the lines. You can hear what's not being said. And that takes a certain kind of skill to do. And it does happen over time and experience. And when you are honest with yourself, you can kind of see the in between lines. And that happens when you watch the news, for instance, especially this whole situation with COVID and the whole situation with vaccines. You kind of read in between the lines. So and so's not saying this, which indicates and you're like, no, don't think I'm going to make that choice. Or, you start to then know what's right for you rather than just following what everybody else is doing. You can then start to make decisions for yourself, you know, based on that. So it actually makes you a much more well together person. So you feel strong within yourself. And on top of that, then you are also inspirational at communicating. You know, people will turn to you as what do they call it, as maybe like a guru, or maybe as someone who's inspiring online. What do they call those people? Trendsetters,
life coaches or
yeah,
motivational speakers.
that's it, yeah.
Even in a lot of cultures, this inspirational communication is also referred to people within cultural groups that are designated as storytellers.
Yes.
And these are people that can pass on the history of a group or a culture through storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when you think of the Vishuddhi and like activities, you think, oh, singing and doing these vibrational meditations, but it's also speaking your truth or historical truth or sharing what you know through storytelling. It's fun, it's creative.
Yeah.
Right. So that can also help, because I know I will sing in my house all day, but I will never sing in people or in public. So instead of that, I can just tell my story in an inspirational way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll get you singing one day, Jen, don't worry.
Katrina's heard me sing, and she's so kind. You know, in this aspect, she's like, when I was singing for her, she wasn't like, she's like, oh, that's good. We can work with this. I'm like, oh, sure.
We can work with it, Jen. Yeah. We work when we get to Vishuddhi, there'll be more singing going on. You wait.
I'll put my computer on mute. So you'll just see my mouth moving.
The beauty with doing Kundalini chakra clearing online is that you all have your own opportunity to go inwards and turn your camera off, turn your volume off, and
Yes.
spend 15 minutes improvising, and no judgment. There's no judgment, you know. So it's a great chance to explore what's going on inside. So it's amazing.
Yes, it is a safe space completely, because you have control over your camera and your audio.
Exactly.
So instead of like in a classroom where you're like, what are these people thinking of me? I don't know this person and I'm doing all these vulnerable things. No, you're at home and you can control everything. So no fear.
Exactly. So what can I do to balance my Vishuddhi? Right. One thing I haven't put on there is actually singing. Oh no, haven't I? Yes, because it says dancing, walk, laugh, and run. Yes, that's at the bottom. So obviously Kundalini yoga, obviously within the yoga, there are parts that we focus on the Vishuddhi chakra, meditations, like Jen was explaining, the humming bee meditation, that's a focus on the Vishuddhi. Hatha yoga as well. There are poses in that open up the throat more. Maybe you're doing stretching backwards and stuff, so you're extending the throat. Sound bowl healing, which Jen will talk to you about later, and Reiki as well. Qigong again, with the sound of the breath that you make and the movements with the hand, that involves that works on the throat chakra. And Tai Chi is energy, it's energetic healing, so it works from all aspects of the body. So obviously it will work on the throat as well. Getting out into nature is really good for the whole body, because what it does is that it kind of feeds your soul. Every time you go out there and you're in touch with the trees, you just it's an exchange of energy. It's an exchange of your erratic brain, monkey mind going crazy, and going out there and lowering your heart rate down. And that's got to be good for the Vishuddhi as well. If you take care of your nutrition, you will lessen the chance of getting sore throats, which will obviously take care of your Vishuddhi. One thing I forgot to mention is the ginger shots. That's amazing for your Vishuddhi. The apple and ginger shot. So if you have like half an apple and then you juice it with about a thumb size ginger, and you drink it, not sip it, you got to drink it all in one, it will make you, you can feel it here, and it's very good for preventing sore throats. So we actually took before we left India, because both of us felt that we were developing sore throats before leaving, and we took it at the because just behind the Lakshmi Palace Hotel there's a juice bar, and so we stopped there and we took our ginger shots 3 days before traveling on a daily basis, and it was gone. The sore throat was gone. So it's amazing. Yeah. So that's one, that's definitely good preventative medication for sore throats. Yeah, for sure.
Very nice.
And obviously unplugging from modern technology, because it radiates and it gives off signals, and also your mental mind is going crazy. And
Yeah.
obviously just do whatever makes you happy, whether it's reading, laughing, watching a funny movie, or dancing. Singing is amazing because you're really exercising this with creativity as well. And laughing, I mean, laughing is great. They do laughing yoga. I remember doing that when we had
I've done laughing yoga before, and it's so awkward because in the beginning it's forced, you know, and you're like, and it works on your breath, kind of like pranayama, where they want you to laugh and do the pumping, you know, with your diaphragm.
Yeah.
And then after a while, when you're like forcing this laughter, you're looking around and everyone just realizes how ridiculous it is. And then you genuinely like erupt in natural laughter.
Yeah, it's orgasmic.
It's hilarious.
Your whole body is in convulsions from laughing. It's
yeah, and you can really feel it. You can feel it, you know, and when you laugh, you release endorphins, and it's, you know,
happy.
Kind of gets you, you know, elevated a little bit. So yeah, that natural high. So laugh it up.
Yeah,
it's fun.
So do more things that make you laugh and that make you happy, you know, all this sort of stuff to increase your vibrations. The higher your vibrations are, the more likely you are to engage less in the stuff that lowers your vibrations, i.e. talking horrible things about people, or you know, lowering your vibrations with what you speak, the poisonous stuff that we talked about. So the more stuff that makes you happy, the less likely you are to fall down into the trap to make you feel low. So that's all I have to say about it. So over to Jen now about sound healing.
Yeah, and with that, when you were talking about vibrations and like the type of energy that you're putting out there, you know, when you can laugh, just let it go, you know, or you're not afraid to express yourself, you tend to attract more people that are like you, that want that kind of energy. And those people that tend to be more negative or gossipy, or, you know, they're going to stay away from you. Because it's not a vibrational match, you know, whether they might feel intimidated or they know that they're not going to have a receptive audience to their kind of communication and behavior in someone like you. So the more that you project higher vibrations, higher energy, you know, laughter, get out of your comfort zone a little bit, those people that tend to be in that bubble of negativity, they're not going to gravitate towards you at all, because they won't have a space for it. So let's remember that. But as far as sound healing, so vibrational healing of the throat chakra aids in opening the self to more experiences in order to develop a greater understanding of the world around you. So when we're talking about opening this area, and we were talking before about the knowledge that we receive before we communicate, it's not just through reading books or watching, you know, informational documentaries. This can be through experiences out and about with other people, having those meaningful experiences in order for you to communicate more effectively and more confidently about things. It promotes liberation from worldly attachments, so we can provide without attachments to the fruits of our labor. And so I always say, the easiest way to become disappointed in life is to have expectations. So if you go into a situation where you're expecting something or someone or anything to turn out the way that you would be or you would plan it, you're always going to be disappointed, because it's never going to be that way. You have to let things be the way they are. But also with that, when you're performing acts of karma or love, you know, or just giving, you have to do it selflessly, without expecting anything in return. Because when you're expecting the fruits of that labor, you're not doing it with a genuine intent. And so part of the Vishuddhi is letting go of that attachment to what the outcome is going to be, and just do it because it's something that you want to do. So to heal the throat chakra with the Tibetan sound bowls, I placed a YouTube link in the slide for your meditation. And again, it's a 3-hour. You don't have to do all 3 hours, or play it in the background, whatever you prefer. For self Reiki, we have 4 hand positions
Ooh.
for self Reiki this week, but it all depends on what you're comfortable with, because we know it's in the throat chakra or in the throat area, right? So of course, you know, you can do something like this, or you can do something like this. But if you're not comfortable with this pressure on the front, there's options for the back. So you can place your hands like this on the back, right? Because our chakras are on the back along our spine. The Kestrum is in the front. So if you're lying in Shavasana, this might be a comfortable position, or you can stack the hands one on top of the other behind the neck.
Yeah.
Whatever works best for you. So not everyone's comfortable with this, then you can do this in any one of those. And then of course our mantras, only the best energies are coming to me. I am a clear, open, receptive channel for the universal life energy. I am absolute. I accept knowledge. I communicate. And so with your meditation or your quiet time this week, focus on those mantras, those hand positions while you're playing your sound healing. Whether you do it for 5 minutes, 15, 45, whatever, don't torture yourself. It's for you, you know, it's for you to do something nice for yourself. And that's really it for this week. And I hope that we see more people in our Sunday class.
That would be really lovely. If
it's a lot of fun.
the more the merrier, right? So, you know, it's there for us. It's not about perfection. It's about clearing. So we're all going through our own experience, and everyone is different. So don't turn to someone else to expect your experience to be the same. It's not going to be. And every time I do a class with people, I end up clearing more myself. So it's quite interesting, but also it can be challenging too. And all, you know, so we all have to look after ourselves. And at any point, if you feel like it's too much, and you're finding that there's more stuff going on and you can't let go of things, I find that it's really good to have an Epsom salt bath, because you're kind of detoxing all this extra stuff that's going on mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you know. And it doesn't really matter whether you're of any faith, because what we do is secular, so it's accessible to everyone, you know. Because I've had a few people who have said to me, oh, I'm Catholic, I can't do this because, well, you know, someone was scared that they were going to see snakes, and I'm terrified of snakes, and if I saw snakes I would not be joining this. You know, so although it's Kundalini, you're not going to see snakes. I have not seen any or witnessed any snakes in my experience. The snakes or the fears that you have are certainly just your fears, and that's all they are. Fear is just.
And a lot of times, you know, because Kundalini yoga, it is usually represented by a serpent
Awakening.
That crosses, it looks like DNA basically. Yeah. And when you think of the historical aspect and what the rishis were channeling through their meditations when they were meditating on the chakras, right? This is thousands and thousands of years ago. That what they were seeing, you know, was the process of evolution, and the way that they could interpret what they were seeing, like in our DNA, it looks like snakes.
It looks like.
And so,
spoiling, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And when you look at the pictures of, you know, the chakras and how they're aligned, a lot of times you will see a crossing, you know, figure 8 pattern going all the way up the body through the top of the head. It's representing the movement of energy. So when you're saying, oh, I'm afraid I'll see a snake, that's just how the seers, the rishis, saw it. It's not necessarily how you're going to see it. You're going to see it in your own way. It's going to manifest in images or realities that are familiar to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, precisely. So, you know, if you come from a place of fear, then you know, you may probably be worried that that's what you're going to manifest, but you've got to let it go. You've got to try, do your best. You know, at the end of the day, it is a practice. It's a Kundalini yoga practice. So you're not going to get it perfect. And the more practice you do, the better you'll get at it, you know. So it's all about clearing, detoxing, getting stronger in getting practice. So, you know, it's It's, yeah.
And if at any time, because I do this in my classes and Katrina does it in her classes as well, if there's any movement, yoga posture, meditation practice that you start it and you try it and it's not settling well with you, stop.
Just stop it.
Don't do it.
Yeah, stop, sit down, just sit cross-legged, just close your eyes and breathe. That's all we ask. If you just even come to the session and just sit cross-legged or sit however you feel comfortable, and close your eyes and breathe, then you're getting something, so
Exactly.
it doesn't matter.
Because there are yoga postures or meditations that I have made, maybe done countless amount of times, and then I'll try it again another day and I'm like, this is not working today.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be something that you could have been practicing for a long time and it's just not working for you that day, depending on how your body feels, how you feel mentally, how the energy is moving, what you're dealing with at the time. So there's no pressure,
No.
I think when it comes to this, the only pressure you'll experience is if you put an expectation or pressure on yourself, which you shouldn't do. Just show up.
Yeah, exactly. Just show up, come to the class and see what happens. Have an open mind. Just be prepared to see what happens. And if nothing happens, then it's not going to hurt you. Yeah. If anything,
you moved your body.
You've exercised, you've had some stretching, and you'll have time to let your mind calm down, and that's got to be good.
Yeah.
That's all you accomplish that day, then that's great. But the more you do it, the more things you'll accomplish from it. So it's it's practice. It really is practice. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think we're going to end it there for today. Thank you so much for listening. And next week, we're going to be back with the Ajna, the third eye. And it's all about intuition then. So for those of you, if you are interested, now I haven't started doing, I'm thinking about putting a class together for my American clients, but I'm not sure about what time, and I don't know who is interested or signing up or whatever. So I'm just going to put it out there. If you are interested, send me a message, and I need to have at least 6 people to make it worthwhile. So yeah, 6 people, about 12 pounds a session, which is what, $15, I think.
About, yeah.
Yeah, about that. So yeah, have a think about it. And if it's something that you want to do let me know. I'm open to opening a class for my American clients, and because the more people that do it, the better, obviously.
Yeah.
Share the Kundalini love.
Spread the Kundalini.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. And I will see you all next week. Namaste, Jen.
Namaste. Bye, everyone.
Bye.